see it. All right, well, good morning and welcome to our Google Hangout for new library media specialists. We're happy you're here. We're hopefully going to answer all of your questions today. While Holly Ann and I are talking, if you would please make sure your microphone is muted when you aren't speaking, that'll help us. And if you have a question, go ahead and utilize the chat feature. We are monitoring it while we're speaking. And I'll turn it over to Holly Ann.
Okay, whoops, let me make sure I'm on. There I am. Okay, so we just wanted to take a second to remind you or clarify about the state media allocation, also known as our 3070 funds. That bulletin went out a while ago, and I sent it as an email attachment. Sometimes it's confusing about the deadlines because there are separate deadlines depending on how you are making your purchase. Purchases done on the P card have to be completed earlier than purchases made through PeopleSoft on a requisition request. That's a purchase order. So please pay attention to these deadlines. P card purchases must be made no later than January 31st, 2020. It is in the bulletin. This is just lifted from the bulletin. So if you have that, you can refer to it. The reason they have to be made no later than that is they have to show up on your P card statement and be reconciled no later than March 6th. This takes some time. Many educational vendors, they don't ding your P card immediately. So your purchase has to be made no later than January 31st to make sure it's reconciled so that the funds show as expended in PeopleSoft. Teresa Viola in our office is the MO buyer in PeopleSoft, and she monitors the 3070 funds for us. The 3070 funds are the responsibility of Library Media Services. That's how they're distributed from the state. So these are our deadlines. If your bookkeeper gave you a different deadline, that is probably for their workflow, and so you may have to work within that. These are the deadlines published in the bulletin. These are our deadlines. These are the deadlines that Dr. Fenoy signed that you see in front of you. If your bookkeeper needs it earlier, then she needs it earlier. Your requisitions in PeopleSoft for a purchase order have to be entered no later than February 28th. Purchase orders are for amounts over $1,000. You cannot do a purchase order for less than $1,000. The good thing about a purchase order, as soon as you enter it in PeopleSoft, the funds show as expended, and we can see that. We are required to retract these funds, the unused funds, in March. And any unused funds after, I think the date in the bulletin is March 9th, they will be retracted. This is why you have to follow the P card deadlines, because we will retract your funds because we cannot see that it has been expended. Now, if you need help doing a do not exceed amount, it's especially recommended with a large purchase on a purchase order. You can give Teresa Viola in our office a call, and she will explain to your bookkeeper how to do a do not exceed purchase order. It amounts to creating a list of books that you would like from that vendor that is 20% higher in value than the actual amount of money you have available to spend. What this allows the vendor to do is, one, fill your order faster. Two, they can fill it up to the amount you have to spend. We are not allowed to have back orders on library materials orders. This is the vendor's agreement. They will not do a back order. So if you send in an order for 10 books, I'm making that up, 10 titles, 100 titles, doesn't matter. They have 60 days to fill that order. They will take the whole 60 days waiting for their stock to come in so they can give you all the books you asked for. But if you give them 20% more to choose from, they have a better chance of having those books in stock. As soon as your order is filled and processed, they will send it to you. So sometimes you get it quicker, but you always will get 100% fill rate. When you just send, you have $100 to spend and you send $100 in value worth of books. If the books are not all in stock by the end of 60 days, you're only going to get some of that and you will not have expended all your funds. So if you have any questions about do not exceed, we won't dwell on it because we want to get to your questions, but it is a good thing to do, particularly when you're spending a larger amount of money. There's a way to indicate it on your See Attached list. And if your bookkeeper ever has any struggles with or questions about library orders, Teresa Viola, tell her she is M.O. Buyer in PeopleSoft. She is a PeopleSoft expert. She's an expert in library materials orders. She is thrilled to talk to any bookkeeper. She's so helpful. So have them call her if they're questioning what you're asking to do, or if you're confused or whatever. Teresa is pretty much always at her desk unless she's out for the day, and she's a great resource. So please call her and she's on your contact list. Her number is 684-5197. How about another slide, Lisa?
Got it.
Okay, just to reinforce, 3070 funds are for any appropriate content for your collection. It's for content. You cannot buy hardware, you cannot buy furniture, you cannot buy supplies, you cannot buy laminating film, bulletin board paper. No, it's content. And there's a bulleted list of what constitutes content for your collection. And you need to ask your bookkeeper to make the appropriate budget transfer if you are buying anything other than books. All items have their own account number, and you'll need to move the money we put it in the line for books, and you can move it to the account number for any of these other materials. But just to be super clear. All right, and so then the other thing we want to just make sure, touch base on this again, and I believe you'll get these slides. Is that correct, Lisa?
Correct.
So I linked here all our major repositories of information and ways to be connected. If you click them, don't do it, not now, but if you click them later when you get the slides, and if you don't get right in, it'll give you a request permission thing. Click it, and one of us will put you in, but we're pretty sure you're all connected to these resources. Remember that the Library Media Services Google site, this first one, is our major information repository. There are help documents there, quick help, slide decks under a lot of topics. Your vendor information is there, and a lot of how-tos on the resource page in the Google site. So be sure and take a look at that. I believe that's part of your follow-up, to click that link. Your professional development hub, that's where we put everything from our face-to-face sessions and these sessions by topic. So you can always go back and get this stuff, or you can get it if you missed. Our Google Plus community is for sharing and networking with your fellow media specialists. You do have to be logged in with your Palm Beach County Google Mail, because Google Plus is really gone for the rest of the world, but we get to keep it because we have an EDU custom domain. So it's still working for us, but you can't use your personal Gmail to be in that. You got to be in your Palm Beach email. And then the last one on the list is our new archive for any of our online webinars. We are currently recording this session, for better or worse, so you can hear my blathering narration 2 times or more. But that's the place to go if you, let's say you miss a Hangout and you want to find out, or you want to listen to something again, or any kind of connection you want to make. It's on that webinar Google site that Lisa made, because she's amazing. Wanted to emphasize that our very next PD will not be our PD alone. It will be the tech conference on January 6th at Santa Lucia's High School. I'm sure you've seen the advertisements. You do need to register. I've sent it out a couple times about presenting. Lisa and I will be presenting some breakout sessions, and so will some other media specialists. You can get PD in-service points for this, not through us directly, but through an outside course. And we'll send all that out later when it's a little closer. But look for the registration for the tech conference and plan to join us. If you've never been, it's a really good event. And we will have sessions, and you can use earn points. So there will be no separate library media PD on January 6th.
We'll send out a list of recommended sessions.
Yeah. Well, once we see they don't have them all set yet. So
once the schedule's set, we'll send that out to you all.
Yeah. That's where we'll be. I think they do free lunch and everything. So come on out. I'm going to throw it to you, Lisa.
All right, so now we're going to open it up to you guys for questions. You can go ahead and unmute your microphone and ask a question. If you're rather just ask it in the chat box, that's fine too. We will address questions that way. So throw us your best questions. Oh, come on, you guys. You must have a question. A Destiny question. How do I do this question?
Don't be shy.
I have a question. How do I change in Destiny the date that a book is due? I can't hear you.
I turned myself off so there wouldn't be background noise.
Okay.
Do you want to do it on the fly with a specific book as you're checking it out, or you want to change the due date for a particular type of material?
I never changed anything. Michelle had it already set, but I mean, I don't know if I need to change it because they bring back their books whenever they're done, because we do a 3-week cycle. But when I check it in, it says it was overdue.
And you know what? You're never going to be able. I mean, you can do this, but if you have a really random schedule,
yeah,
you have to set a number of days. So it's never going to cycle so that no one ever has an overdue.
Right. Does it matter that everything is overdue if they bring it back?
No.
Okay, so then I'm not going to touch it.
No, you can. You could make the loan period longer, but what that does is when you do run overdue notices, you're not going to have that reminder for them in a timely fashion. I think the default is a 14-day loan period for a student.
That's what it is.
And it's probably best because that way when you run overdues, and they've already come for their media time that day and you run overdues, it'll capture that and you'll be able to give them a note. It doesn't matter that when you check it in, it says it was overdue, because now it says it's available. It doesn't matter. It's off their screen.
Okay.
Yay, they brought it back. But if you ever need to, let's say a child they need a book and they're going on vacation and you want to let them have the book for 30 days.
Yes.
You can set a special due date right on the screen and just change it just for them for that one book if you ever need to. It's right on the screen. It says change due date.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right. Jennifer had a question. What is the best way to order nonfiction books? What books are the most current and exciting? Is it better to just meet the reps to figure this out?
Well, you can give your opinion on this too, Lisa.
Yeah.
I have I am not a fan of letting the vendor drive what I buy. You can meet with the vendor as long as you have a strong opinion about what you need and you're looking carefully at what they show you. Never, ever forget, as wonderful as they are, and I have several vendor reps that I think are fantastic. Their job is to sell things. Their job is not to improve your collection. It is not to safeguard that you are following the district's selection policy. It is not to make sure that the material is age appropriate for your library. It is to sell things. So it is your responsibility to do those things. Personally, I like keeping a finger on the pulse of lots of different information sources like School Library Journal, Book List, people I follow on Twitter, the National Science Teachers Recommended Books for Children, the ALA award lists, so that I know in advance what the good books are. And I think about holes I need to fill in my collection. I look at my analysis from Tidal Wave, and you can see where you need to improve. I think about what the kids have been asking for, what supports the curriculum, and I hunt for things to match those things. There is no quick, can I just get a list and I just buy these? There's a lot of thinking involved in it, but I mean, that's my personal opinion about you know, like I said, you can use the vendors, but you need to use them. You need to drive the selection, not them. And personally, I'd rather spend my time, you know, looking at professional reviews instead of letting them show me books. But another place you can look is, I did this, when did I do this slide, Lisa, about using Junior Library Guild for collection development? I think that was in our October session.
I believe so.
Look in PD. We did a whole thing on collection development. You can look at Junior Library Guild and what they're picking. They are about 100% on picking titles that end up winning the awards in January and February. They review things before they are published. You'll be seeing the newest stuff. There's just a lot of ways to do it, and I highly recommend School Library Journal, SLJ Online, or slj.com, I think it is. I don't know, I can type it in my sleep. But if the print copy or online, and reading reviews and lists. Example, hang on, I'll be right back.
So I have a question about the School Library Journal, because it costs money.
Yeah, but you can get a deal, and you can use school money to do it. The district will pay for it. It's a tool
through the 3070 budget, or through our...
Can be, because it's periodical, or if you do it direct, you could do it through supplies. And if you look, sometimes you can get a $50 subscription.
Right. And there's also good subscriptions money in your a line in your school budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Subscriptions.
I just wanted to make sure that that subscriptions for us as media specialists were included, and not just for subscriptions.
Oh, absolutely.
For students.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
How many millions of dollars have they spent so reading teachers can teach reading? Do you know? I'll tell you.
Several.
$13 million. $13 million. The district can pay $99 for you to have this.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
That's okay. But I wanted to point out, I just opened this one. This one has a whole article on middle grades reading, recommended middle grades, because it's such a tough area. There's so many things that can help you if you subscribe to this and just let it be your best friend. So it's another way. I mean, that didn't answer the nonfiction question. There are awards for nonfiction, the science list, science teachers list, those kinds of things. Think about your pub dates on science, make it new, and look at it, make it exciting, make it representative of all cultures, that kind of thing, in terms of, you don't want, all the pictures looking like it's 1960 and it's just Dick and Jane in the book.
Another thing you can use is Mackin and Follett. Their collection development tools will allow you to search by positive reviews, and they will have full text reviews in there, so you can read right on their site what they have to say about the book. April had another question about selection using the New York Times book section.
You could use that as a guide if it appears on the New York Times bestseller list, but then I would take it and look it up in Solid or Mackin to see if they have a full text review. The New York Times is not a professional reviewing source with that list. That list it's on purchase numbers. Okay, the New York Times bestseller list, they calculate that by number of books sold. So it's a place you could start. It doesn't give you what age it's appropriate for, and it isn't a professional review. So, and you could get those on Follett and Mackin. But I mean, it is a place you could keep an eye on, but you have to be careful too. Not the New York Times bestseller list for adult fiction. It can't be that. I mean, they do have a children's list, but you're better off going directly to the source for the reviews.
And make sure you're consulting those reviews for age appropriateness. Just because it's a great book and highly reviewed doesn't mean it's reviewed for your age category. And April, I see that you're reading the reviews and they do show ages, but I would search the full text reviews from places like School Library Journal that are reviewing specifically for children.
Yeah, that is publisher industry driven. The New York Times is not considered a professional journal. It's a newspaper. So those reviews don't really qualify. It's a good guide. It's a starting place, like I said, that says it's for our age group. Then look it up and file it and see what book list, Horn Book, CBC, SLJ, see what they say and get a comparison. Our policy does require 2 professional reviews, not 1. So, it's an okay place to start. I see in the chat, to back up a little bit, Jennifer wanted a list of some of the things that I wrangled off about places to find books. We can't add it on the fly while we're presenting or into this recording, but we'll attach it somehow on that website when we archive, if Lisa reminds me. Because we can just pull out the slide I think I have a slide already from that other presentation. We'll just pull that out so you can see, or we'll find some other places. But, if you need more help with that, you can always call.
Absolutely. And the purchasing with intention, Google Hangout has already been archived and it's up on the Google site, and the slides are available on the Google site as well as in the Google Classroom. So those are already available that way. You would have to slog through all the slides, but they are there that way. Caitlin has a question about lessons to pump up using e-titles.
You got something on that, Lisa? I can make one example suggestion. I know that Tony Lipsher at Marsh Point was using Chromebooks for the Access Point, and she gave them an assignment. Now, she purchased books to make this assignment work, because you can customize your Mackenbia collection by purchasing books, and they will fall just on your shelf and for your students. So she had purchased some nonfiction books, I believe, and she had them have Google Classroom open in one tab and the ebook open in another. And they were taking notes on whatever the topic was. I don't know the exact assignment. I just know that she was having them specifically use the ebook to find the facts for their research and go back and forth and take notes in Google Hangout. You could create, I don't think you can direct link, but you could link to your Mackenbia shelf with a QR code, put it on the hardcover book. We have this in ebook, the hardcover for the Sunshine State, put up a sign that advertises that you have those in ebook and how to access Mackenbia.
I mean, for me, I just did a lesson. Took out my Chromebooks and we opened up Mac and Via, and we just browsed the catalog to see what it could do for them. And my ebook circulation skyrocketed after that because they didn't even realize it was there.
Yeah, walking them through how to access it, and a handout maybe to them that they can take home, depending on your community. But it does work on a free app that works on Apple and Android devices. So you could advertise the fact of that app. And once they set it up once on their personal device, they would just click it and it will always open their shelf. And, just giving them that and knowing that they can access it on a phone or their iPad they have at home, that might, increase it. Make the ebooks part of an author study.
Right? It's just a matter of them knowing it's there and being shown how to access them. Once they know, they'll repeatedly go there. If they can't get to the library to check out a book, if they need something to read while they're home, they'll remember that they have access to Mac and Via.
And of course, you could do any other lesson that you might have done using a hardcover book, any sort of lesson about a genre or whatever, but let them read the ebook instead. Now, Mac and Via, by its structure, those books are one user licenses that you're seeing. So it's not simultaneous users. So you can't use it for a class set. If you want to do class sets and have 30 kids touch the same book at the same time for the same length of time, you need to buy 30 licenses if it's frontline fiction. You can get some multi-user nonfiction from both Follett or Mackin. The Mackin ones will go on Mac and Via. The Follett ones, you'll have to click out of the catalog. And I have to say, we've just still had iffy success with their app. So that's why we stick with Mac and Via. But the capstone books on your home tab of your Destiny screen are multi-user. If you're elementary, there's the My Capstone Library and the Max Axiom. We don't have any for high school that are multi-user that way, but that's on your home tab of your Destiny screen. You can have it. They don't download to devices, though. You have to read them on a laptop or a desktop.
And I can't remember, our Gale books are multi-user as well.
And our Gale books are nonfiction. Should we click those open?
Sure.
I'm showing multiple copies in my Mac and Via. Is that just because that's the way they were purchased?
There are multiple copies because it is a shared collection, and so there are 110 elementary schools. In order to offer any one SSYRA title, I have to buy 110 copies.
Got it.
And technically, you can touch those, but they are going to automatically remove from your device in 14 days. But they're not intended. That's just an unintended consequence of having a shared collection. It's called a shared collection because we pay for it centrally. So technically you could do it, but you're taking it away from the children at the other schools.
Got it. And so the ones that don't have availability numbers are the ones that were purchased specifically for our schools, and the ones that say there are multiple copies, up to 110 copies, are purchased through the district.
Yes.
Got it.
Lisa, you can't get to pick a school. Go to the Gale tile because this is confusing because it's through FBL.
Okay. So.
Oh wait, yeah, you are at Belvedere.
I'm at Belvedere Elementary. And then
But don't do that. Click the ebook tab at the top.
Okay.
See products and ebooks.
There we go.
Yeah, so this is because it'll still say, if you scroll to the top, it still says Belvedere, I think.
Gotcha.
Doesn't it?
Yep.
Can you make that show up? So these are the ebooks elementary. that we purchased through Gale. You get to this by clicking the Gale research tile in your portal. The students have that same tile. It pushes you to the page for your school. And if you see the green, it looks like a button. I call it a tab for ebooks. And that opens this shelf with all the ebooks. These are multi-user, simultaneous multi-user ebooks. They are nonfiction by choice. And the great thing about these is that you can print pages of them, download pages of them to do, what do I want to do? You want to do, see where it says view ebook, Lisa?
Yep.
Lisa's driving today, can you tell? So it'll take a second to load and maybe put it in 2-page spread. You see the 2-page spread? And then maybe a forward arrow so it's not the copyright page. Okay, so this is a really simple book, but you can download. See the download button here? You can download pages of it. This is really helpful with the high school books that are very complex. They can download a chapter, and they keep it in perpetuity. I don't know why you want to download a whole super huge reference books. That's for high school, but and you can read it in a PDF format where it just scrolls, in line instead of this 2-page spread. But these can be used all simultaneously.
I can do that.
And no matter what school has it open, every kid in the district can have this book open at the same moment.
And they can highlight, take notes, add it to their Google Drive. It'll give them the citation. It's a really powerful tool that we have for the kids.
So that's Gale ebooks.
Those are Gale, and they're available for elementary, middle, and high school.
Through the portal. And there's also some ebooks in WorldBook that are nice, particularly in my memory, they're mostly elementary. You think you could get there, Lisa?
Probably. Let me get to WorldBook. I can find WorldBook. There we go. And then,
while she's navigating, Caitlin had a great idea. I hope you saw it in the chat that you could use the ebooks in a book tasting too. That would be a great idea. So see that there's just an ebook symbol there.
you just click it.
Yep. And they load. These don't download to devices, but you can read them on a Chromebook. You can read them on an iPad. You just have to navigate there, to using the browser. And there's a lot of animal books in here. There's a lot of high-low. Again, probably mostly for elementary and middle. So, but it's these are multi-user. All right. So, gosh, did you have to pick something so depressing, Lisa?
It's that kind of
like a kitten book or something.
All right.
I'm just teasing.
We've got lots of titles.
So, that kind of, any other questions about ebooks or anything else? We can keep moving. We don't want to cut anybody out of time.
Right. Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So how about use the chat, and here's a challenge. I'll give you 2 minutes. Throw in a description of the success you're happiest about since the school year started, or your best idea you've had so far. Share it with your newbies by typing it in the chat. And somebody needs to mute so we don't have background conversations.
Perfect.
On your best idea since starting as a media specialist, the thing you're most proud of that you've gotten done.
I love it. Lisa Poskanzer with Express Checkout.
Wow, and it's increased your book returns too?
Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising.
Oh, I like that you're using the Smart Learning Suite online to create games, making learning fun for them, Jennifer.
We know Allegra is rocking circulation at Boynton Beach High because her principal called and wanted to brag to me. He's so excited about having you there, Allegra. Principals never call me, and he called to tell me what a great job you were doing. If you don't have the we call them placemats. If you don't have the express checkout and check-in placemats that Nolan made last year, they're really helpful for setting up that self-checkout. If you want them, you can just maybe shoot me an email instead of putting it in the chat, and I'll just reply and attach those.
If you don't have your microphone muted, if you would please mute your microphone. We're getting some background noise. April, I'm not sure what your question is. What are they? Are you talking about the placemats, April? Okay, so the placemats are just a simple way to do the check-in and check-out of books, and it makes it foolproof for the kids. We'll share those out in the
Yeah, we'll put them in the Hangout archive. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no problem. And Michelle, third through fifth grade students do love being read to, and I'm so glad you're reading them picture books. They're not
amazing. Good for you.
Yay. Do you use 2 different computers for Express Checkout? That's really a personal choice. You would have to have 2 scanners, 2 computers, and the ability to set them both up.
Yeah, when you see the placemats, that might help it be just one computer, because the placemat says check out, check in, and you teach the kids to look at that heading, and then they're just scanning 2 barcodes. So you might be able to stick with just one.
Yeah, it'll just simplify
Unless you
that.
want it in 2. There is some advantage to having checkout in one place and have your book drop with a computer near it or on top of it, and check in, and they drop it in the bin. I mean, there's some thought for that too.
It's really a personal preference. You just have to have the equipment to have 2 computers running. Any other questions we can answer before we finish out?
The word collector. Caitlin's using the word collector for vocabulary terms and practice dictionaries and reading the word collector. That's cool.
Oh, and Lisa, your kid's using the carts to put their checked-in books on for reshelving. It's going to really help you with your time. And I can see that you said reduce the amount of time needed for revolving for my media clerk. And that's wonderful. Anything you can do that simplifies the process makes it so much better for you and for the kids. Yeah. They do need to know that books are organized. For sure. Yes.
A password for Jennifer, a password to log into the iPad, or a password to log into the portal or a password to log into Gale? I need to know. The answer is different depending on
Right.
where you're hitting that.
If it's the Wi-Fi asking for a password, that's an issue for your ITSA. And April, I love that you're using your news crew kids to help reshelve. Teaching all classes will definitely help, but having just a few kids who know how to do it will help keep your shelves organized.
And if you haven't explored the use of a little tool called the shelf marker, you might want to look into that. Dimco sells them. Basically, a shelf marker, what it does is it's a ruler-like object that you teach the children when they walk up to the shelf. This is for elementary kids. Sorry, Allegra. When they walk up to the shelf and they see a book they want to take off, they insert the shelf marker next to the book. They pull the book off, leaving the marker on the shelf, open the book, flip through it and go, oh, I like this, I don't like this, oh, I don't want this book. And then you encourage them to put it back by the marker. And that will give you some hope that the shelves will stay in some sort of semblance of order. Yes, it's Dimco, DEMCO, and they are a district vendor. And just look up shelf marker. I think you'll find them. Buy the ones that are, there's some flimsy ones. Just read the reviews. It'll tell you that there's cheap ones and there's that are flimsy, and or you can buy paint rulers, like somebody said, paint stirrers. They're a little thicker and they don't slide as well, but and they hurt more when they smack each other with them. But they do cost money, the ones from Dimco. They have little different animal symbols so they can keep track, which one was theirs.
Right.
It's worth a go.
It is. And if you don't have the funds to purchase them, we made them out of cardstock and laminating film, and those work as well. Eileen shared that she had a class set of Magic Treehouse, and they researched the topic of the story of the saber-toothed tiger, and then they read independently and discussed what they learned. Students were using the Smartboard for student-driven lesson on the author's website, and she videotaped the lesson, which is wonderful. The only thing I will caution you is to consult the do not videotape list for the school, because there are certain children that are not allowed to appear on camera. And you want to respect their parents' wishes. And then I love that you're having the 5th grade aftercare. Eileen, again, students help scan and put the books away. It's wonderful to have our students help out with that, and then they have an ownership of the library. So, and I see that Michelle said, having a grade level or a class adopt a shelf, and they are in charge of that section, keeping it organized. That is a great idea, Michelle. You'll have to share with us how it's working.
So while we're sort of in a slow moment here, and there's not a lot flowing into the chat, let me pose a question, at least to this small group. This is not all of our new people. We have 32 new media specialists this year. But I'd be interested to hear your opinion. I'm really liking the conversation that we're able to have this morning. This is very convenient in that we don't have to travel. I'm wondering if you as a group, the new people, would be interested in having a Google Hangout other than our Tuesday ones that Lisa has set up the venue for, but one, again, just for newbie questions, and we would just make it shorter. Maybe we wouldn't even have anything that we'd be presenting unless we've been getting the same question a lot and wanted to just go over it. But 30 minutes at 2:30 on certain day, once a month or something, so that you could share and you could ask questions. And I wouldn't mind being online, once a week for 15 minutes, if everybody knew that was when it was, and it kind of worked for everyone. if that helps. I don't know.
And we could certainly record those as well.
But just maybe we'll just open one on a certain day. And what about, and I know not everybody's in the group is elementary, but would a 2:30 be a time, or a 2:45 for 15 minutes till 3 o'clock? Trying to get a common time. Put in a vote in the chat.
While we're waiting for that vote, Steve shared that they did a whole school gallery on the dot. They've moved on to digital citizenship. And Steve, I know you have computers, and if you haven't explored the Google Be Internet Awesome curriculum yet for your 3rd through 5th graders, you should definitely check that out. It's a really robust curriculum, and it sparks some deep, meaningful conversations about digital citizenship. And it's an interactive. I guess I'll go back to our slides if there aren't any more questions.
Yeah, I see a lot of people say 2:45, 2:30. Some people say there's meetings in their media center. Do you have an office where you can shut the door? And if you don't, if you have a Chromebook, you can take it anywhere and do one of these meetings as long as you're within the Wi-Fi. Maybe you have to be in the meeting, and so therefore you couldn't attend the Hangout. But I'm thinking some other day besides, it wouldn't be a Tuesday because we're going to be doing Hangouts on Tuesdays that have topics for points. And Fridays, nobody wants something hanging over their head. So I don't know. We'll have to come up with a day.
Yeah. I can see, Jennifer, you said you're sometimes in the meetings, and that happens. But if we record these things, and if you can't get there that way, we can record them and archive them so you can get to them later. All right, so I've gone back to our slides. Please tag us when you're doing wonderful things and you post them on Twitter. We want to see what you're doing in your libraries, because we know you're doing wonderful things. And if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. So I would highly recommend you telling your story. Steve, to access the recordings, they will be on a Google site, and I will send out that information a second time.
And it's also linked on a slide in here.
Yep.
Early in the presentation, we talked about our resources. It's linked there.
Right. And this is where you'll find your recordings. We've made a webinar hub, a Google site, and on there, and I'm going to recommend you make a tile for it in your portal so you can see it whenever you need it. And then you don't have to go, where is that link? And then it's just there for you whenever. If you need those directions on how to do that, email me and I will send them out to you. Also on that site is a Google form, so you can request learning for the next Topical Tuesday. We want to make sure we're addressing the topics that you guys need, and not just what we want to share. So please make use of the form and request learning.
Oh, and there's the link at the bottom of that slide, Lisa.
Yep.
The link to the archive, Steve.
Yes. I put it on there as well as earlier in the slide with a link to it. Either way, you'll be able to get to our Google site for our Google Hangouts. Our next Google Hangout is on December 10th, topic to be determined. And please watch your calendar for inbox for calendar invites. Unfortunately, the next Tuesday we would have presented was Thanksgiving vacation, so we will not be presenting again until December. But please, please, please send us your requests for learning. Points. You are able to get up to 14 points for attending these webinars. The topic is live in e-learning, and the directions for points are on this slide. If you attend one session, you're going to need to do the corresponding follow-up activity for that session. If you attend two, you'll need to do the corresponding follow-ups for those, and likewise for three. But if you attend 3 or more sessions, you may choose 3 follow-up activities to earn your points. So, and we will be taking attendance and putting that in there for you. In every Google Hangout, we'll put a link to our attendance. And if you have not already signed in for today, please do so. I'm going to put that link in again.
Yes, because we're going to turn that off at the end of the Hangout. We'll give you about 15 minutes after this Hangout to click that link to sign in. And then we have to close it so we can archive it. So don't put that off.
Jennifer, that's exciting that you're setting up your media center. They won the Orange Bowl Media Center makeover, and she's in the middle of setting that up today. Steve, we're so glad you got a lot out of FAME. Lisa, you get attendance points for watching the webinar. No, you do not get attendance points for watching the webinar after it's been online. You can only get attendance points for watching it live. The follow-up for today is pretty simple. Take a screenshot of the Destiny Help section of the Library Media Services Google site, paste it into a document, and tell us one question you had answered today and how you will use that information in your media center. Save the document as your last name _ new LMS and upload it to e-learning. And that is it for our slides.
So
any last questions before we say goodbye?
While you're thinking about that and typing, I just want to thank Steve for his comment and commiserate with him. He thanked us for the information and said the volume of data I'm processing is very high. And this job, by its very nature, is you're always flooded with information. There are so many details to this job. There's so many different aspects. It's like that old thing those of you that are as old as I am have used to see on a variety shows on television when you were a kid, the lady spinning the plates on the pole and trying to keep all the plates spinning because as long as they would spin, they wouldn't crash to the floor. It's the nature of the work. And I know you must feel like we're bombarding you. We just want to make sure that you have the information you need to do the job. And after this year passes, you'll have all this in your toolbox, so to speak, and it won't be so overwhelming. So I appreciate your patience, Steve, and your participation. I appreciate all of you for participating, and I'm excited that FAME was valuable for you, Steve, and I hope if anybody else in the group got to be there, it was valuable for you as well. So excited to keep learning and working with you guys for the rest of the year, and give us a call. Try those resources, and we'll just keep on keeping on.
And hopefully we see most of you back at 1:30 for our FAME share. Lots of great learning went on at FAME, and we want to share it with everybody who wasn't able to be there. And for those of us who were able to be there, sometimes we couldn't get to all the sessions we wanted to. So we look forward to seeing you again at 1:30 this afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oops.